Hello, it's Mr. Burgess here, and it's the end of maths week, so I'm going to show you how we worked out the height of the yak for the estimation challenge. This is the guy just here, and the challenge was to estimate how high above the ground he is. And you can see if I look down there, that's the ground that we're talking about. Now, we don't have like a plan of the building that tells you exactly how high that desk is that we can use to get the answers. So instead, I'm going to have to do some maths. So I started by drawing a diagram. There's my diagram there. I'll point out this little guy here. That's the yak sat on his ledge at the window. Here's me down on the floor down there, just looking up at him. I'm going to use a thing called an inclinometer to get this angle here. Because if I can get this angle, then I can use trigonometry to work out this height. But I'll need one other thing. The other thing I'm going to need to know is this distance here. Okay? So if I get that distance, which is the adjacent, I can then use trigonometry to work out the opposite. Now, that will kind of give me the height. What you might notice is that I also need to know how tall I am. So I'm 1.79 meters, so I reckon my eye line is about 1.7 meters above the ground. So once I get the opposite side of this triangle, I can add on my 1.7 meters, and that'll tell me the height of the yak above the ground. Alright, but I'm going to have to go down there to find out. Okay, so I've got a couple of bits of equipment that I'm going to need. The first is a trundle wheel. This is going to let me measure the distance from the building to where I'm stood. And the second one is called an inclinometer. You can see that when it's flat, it's got an angle of 0. Push the button and I just tip it up, you can see the angle changing. This is going to allow me to measure the angle that I'm looking at. My equipment, and I've taken it outside and actually stood directly underneath the building where that yak is situated. And what I'm going to do to measure how far I've gone, I'm going to aim to walk like 10 meters straight forwards, because that'll make my calculations easy. So here we go. So we'll keep going till we get to 10. And I say straight forwards, but maybe not that straight. 8, 9, where are we? 9.9, 7, 8, 9, there's 10 meters. Right, so 10 meters is right there in that middle of that paver. Okay, trying to set myself up. I'm looking up and I can actually see the yak just here, which is helpful, because that's what I need to look at to know how high it's going to be. I'll use the old inclinometer now to get where that yak is. There he is, just sitting on my desk up there. Alright, let's use this inclinometer and get that angle. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, we've got the angle of 36.5, I reckon that is. 10 meters, 36.5 degrees. I'll add them to my diagram and we'll work out how high up that yak is for the competition. So I'm back in the warmth of my office and I've added those numbers to my diagram. You can see it's 10 meters was that length that I measured, and the angle of 36.5 degrees. Remember, it's this length here that I want, the height of the yak above the ground. And now I know how to get it. I'm going to do 10 times the tan of 36.5 degrees, and that will equal the opposite side. Once I've got that, I can add on the 1.7 meters that my eyes were above the ground when I did the measurement. Okay, so let's do the calculation then. I gotta go 10 times 36, oh, delete that, 10 times the tangent of 36.5. Just check, am I set in degrees? Yes, I am. Let's hit equals, and that's telling me that it was 7.4 meters really, if we round that. So 7.4 meters is O. So 7.4 meters equals the opposite side. To get the height of the yak above the ground, I've got to add on my 1.7 meters, and I don't think I even need my calculator to do that. So the final answer, x equals 7.4 plus 1.7, which is going to be 9 9.1 meters. So that's the answer we're looking for, 9.1 meters above the ground.